Hi, I'm Jake,
And I'm Tim.
and welcome to PT&J. So, we ended up skipping last week due to unforeseen circumstances, but this week we're doing a continuation of the topic of the Fivefold ministry.
And we're going to start with the first one, apostle. Now, one thing about the Bible is order is always important. Whenever something is listed in a certain order, typically it's listed in that order for a reason. And when you have apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, they're not listed necessarily in order of importance, but in order of how the church is established.
So, if you're wanting some reference, this can be found in Ephesians 4, and it's really the only place that all five are listed together.
Well, yes, there's Romans, I think, 12-ish that it mentions.
Does it mention 3?
Yeah, but it doesn't mention all of them.
Yeah.
But it does mention apostles and prophets.
Definitely. And so today we're going to start off with numero uno, apostles.
Right. And something really interesting has happened over the last several weeks in Christianity, and that is a couple of major figures have renounced the faith.
Ooh.
Yeah, one of them was a pastor, Joshua Harris, and the other one was a worship leader, Marty Sampson. And among the reasons they listed of falling away from the faith, a lot of it really just boils down to immaturity. And one thing in America that we have to address is the pastoral-led church, to where we basically have one or two-fold ministry. And every now and then they'll let an evangelist dip in and say something for a few days and then send him packing. So the apostle is the one that establishes the church, and the apostle is necessary in order for us to reach maturity, all five, but beginning with the apostle.
So based on what you said, what I'm hearing is foundation laying apostle.
Right.
So we're talking about the position in the church where you have someone that goes in and sets a rock solid precedence for those that come after him.
Right.
And can stay in whatever position to lead and guide that specific church after the foundation has been laid.
Even if they've gone on to lead another church, they still have an apostolic role in that church. Sort of like the Apostle Paul when he wrote letters and various things. Now, sometimes you can, like, we have 2 retired apostles that actually attend church here. And every now and then they bring that solid foundational correction into my life as a pastor.
Yeah.
I believe the reason many Christians in America are immature is because they only hear from really one office, and that is pastor. And pastors can't lead you to maturity.
Right. So when you look at the apostles that we have in our church, first thing you're going to notice is when you see them and when they start speaking, they're older, they're wiser, and they've been around the block way more than one time.
And they typically don't pull any punches.
No, it's brutal. It's brutal. When you see them coming after you, you're like, hey, can we go in the back room? Because if I'm going to cry, I don't want to do it in front of my
Especially
friends.
if you've done something questionable or kind of dumb.
And you already know what you did. And they know as well.
It's a little bit worse when you don't know, though, and they come and bring correction. You thought you did good, and then the apostle comes in, and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah. So let's talk the flip side of this, because this is one of those terms that's kind of been perverted in modern times.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you're talking apostle, there's going to be a lot of denominations, there are a lot of people that say, oh, you know what? There were 12 apostles. No, thank you. I don't need any modern day apostle.
Right.
And what they're thinking is, okay, well, the 12 apostles, these were the men that traveled with Jesus, and they were. And what we're using is the same word, but it's almost like a completely different term.
Yes, and we also have to understand there were not 12 apostles in the Bible. There were 12 apostles of Jesus.
Right.
In the Bible. There were many people that carried an apostolic office. Timothy, even though he was a pastor, he went and established churches in a couple other cities. There is a Julian or a Julia. They're saying there could have been a female apostle. I don't know about that, but there are several other apostolic-type figures in the Bible other than the original 12.
Long story short, what a lot of people get hung up on is the fact that the original apostles in the Bible that followed Jesus, the 12 that we are very familiar with, they had a specific role that included writing the actual Bible. So when people today, a lot of folks hear the word apostle, would be like, you know what, there were only 12. And
right.
And after that, the Bible canon was completely closed and no one else could write. So we're not
Well, that
saying...
part is true.
Oh, yeah,
That
that's
part is
completely true.
Yes.
So when they hear the term apostle, that's what they're thinking. And there are quite a few folks that are parading around today with the word apostle.
And they demand to be called that, and they the
Yeah.
literature, and they have bios that are 17 pages long, and
Yeah, talking about why they are an apostle that really might not have the foundation themselves.
Right. Because again, an apostle can't lead you to maturity alone. It takes all five.
Right, which is why we're creating this video series, so we can break everything down. But apostles are those that can be not so much above the church, but
they establish it. They have authority over it. It's just like in our movement, we have a state director that has an apostolic office over all our churches. He doesn't really carry any authority in the sense that he can come and tell us what to preach and tell us what to do, but he has that overarching authority over us, and even over them there's another layer of that apostolic covering. So,
and most of the pastors have been trained and know that when the apostle calls, when the apostle has something to say, or if he comes to slap them around a little bit, hey, you accept it, because he's earned that role.
Right. And sometimes that can be difficult, especially to us rogue Pentecostals that think I can hear God myself, which can travel down the membership as well. But the key thing about the apostolic role is it's an establishing role. It's a place that it's a role where the person comes and establishes something that didn't. They're very similar to what you would call a pioneer. A pioneer goes. Really, there's two different types of apostles in my mind. There's probably several, but two that I've had access to, and well, three. Let's say three. There's one that has like a role government over many churches. There's one that establishes a church in a city where it's never been established. We may call these missionaries. They even exist in America, across the world. And then the third type is someone who takes a work where the pastor has failed. The church has crumbled. It could be due to moral failure, terrible leadership. And he comes in and he revitalizes that place and breathes life into it until it can be established so the pastor can be appointed. So those are the three types of apostles. These people that prance around in different churches calling themselves apostles so-and-so, they didn't start that church. They have no, it's silliness.
Right. So, the apostle. Yes, they are walking, talking beings in modern times. The apostles didn't die off. They just continued in a path that's similar to what you would have seen when the apostles were walking around during Jesus' time or after he ascended. They went around establishing churches.
Right.
They were literally, the Bible tells us in Acts 2 that the first church adhered to the doctrine of the apostles. They were teaching about Jesus who had just left the earth. And so it was something that the apostles did. They went around laying the foundation. They were teaching people about Jesus. And like you said, pioneer.
Right. And again, we have to establish, we're not talking about the original 12. The guys that walk around today, or girls that walk around today, they don't have the ability to write scripture or amend scripture. Scripture is what it is. You had to be an eyewitness to Jesus. You didn't have to be just an apostle. You had to be an eyewitness to Jesus in order for your scripture and New Testament to be considered canon.
Yeah. And we know that the original 12 apostles that followed Jesus were in a unique position because after Judas had obviously hung himself, they were only 11. So when they, they drew straws for
rolled the dice, they cast lots, whatever casting lots is, they did that.
Whatever happened is they made sure that Matthias, the guy that ended up replacing Judas.
Which would happen to that guy? What did he do?
He was listed as one of the 12, which seems like a pretty big deal to me.
It is, but you hear nothing after that.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? If you could get your name in the Bible for doing one thing, wouldn't that be pretty cool?
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Either way, they made sure that he was someone who had been there the entire time so that he was actually with Jesus because it was important.
Yes, that was one of the criteria. Yes.
It was important. Well, I tell you what, I think we've gone over apostle pretty well.
I think so too. Next week we will cover the prophet.
Oh, that sounds scary.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Definitely hit that thumbs up, hit that like, share this video with your friends because it's really important.
You know, I don't even care if they hit dislike, as long as they hit something that gets the video.
Is there a dislike button?
There is a dislike button. There's an angry button, a wow button. Click, choose the one you want.
Oh yeah, where I got big fingers and I hit that angry button, and you're like, why did you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, well, we're done.
We're done. All right, thanks for watching, and remember, life is so much sweeter when you start your day with a heaping helping of PT&J.
See ya.